Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Jason, also known as Ominous Prime, and today we're taking a look at GigaPower's Guttur. And this was the first one that I picked up as far as the GigaPower dinosaurs, or they call them Gigasaurs. And here's a look at the box. I'm not going to read that this time, but this is Masterpiece Scaled G1 Toy Aesthetic, and it's HQ03R. Now, this was the first one that they released, and it came with a windowed box, which was really cool, and I wish they would have continued this because this has all these cool details and artwork that was done with the box, aside from what was done on the outside. And it's just something that was really cool about this one. You could see them displayed in dyno mode with the schematics above. Now, on the back of the box here, we have kind of details of what they believe Guttur is, and some pre-production shots here of Guttur in the different modes and the accessories that he would come with. And here's one side in bot and the other side in alt mode. And let's take a closer look here, and you can see it's beautifully done. This is their first outing, and they included a swappable head with red eyes and a bit of a darker shade here for his face. Instead of it being a lighter silver color, they went with a darker silver here and a grimace. And this is a rocket accessory that can be shoulder mounted on the back here, and you would just use this peg here and you just slide it right in. It's a little bit of a challenge. It's tight fit, but it looks great when it's on. You can pivot it as you need. Then we have his blaster rifle. This is a light up weapon, and you can see here on the tip that it would light up once you turn it on. It's well sculpted. There's no paint on here. It does have this here to go ahead and store on the back. Just slide that into the opposite peg hole here. And it's out of the way, and you can just slide the tab into the palm of the hand, and this would lock in place and hold it really well. The joints on these arms are really stiff because they work as legs in alt mode. And we have this smoky glass colored clip that goes on the back here. This is to store another accessory onto the back if you want to have the battle rifle in hand, which is the sword. And the sword is another light up feature. We have these tabs here that go into the palm like so, and you just wrap the fingers around, and you can hold that just really well. And this didn't come with this version, but there are flame effects that are available. It came with a different bot. I believe it came with Graviter, if I recall. But you would light this up, and then because of the rubberized plastic that they used here, you'd be able to see the light throughout. And you can leave the hook in if you want to make it easy to store here. You just can't hold it all that well with that in place, but it stores well and looks good. It also came with spare thumbs and these things. There's nothing in the instructions that explain what these are. If you know, put it in the comments down below. I'd like to know what to use these things for. All right, so let's take a look at articulation. You can move his head a full 360. And it's on a ball joint, so you have some wiggly movement that you can do there. And you look down about that far. And the arms will go full 360 at the shoulders. You just have to move this out of the way. And there you go. And it gets up to here. You do have bicep swivel. And you get about 90 degrees here for the elbow bend. And you get the full 360 at the wrist. And the fingers, this is their like first generation version of how to do hands. And each GigaPower dinosaur or Dinobot, they kind of changed how they did that. Now this doesn't have an ab crunch, but it does have a full 360 that you can do here with the waist. There's also these chest compartments that you can open up for additional detail, which is really cool because it's a feature I think they had on the initial toy from G1. You do have a full rotation here at the thigh, and goes up this far, goes back about as far as you would need, and out to the side. And I'll say this for the joint here, it's really tight, but this is a replacement hip that was sent out after the initial run. So I've had that replaced, and you get 90 degrees here at the knee. And the toe tilt, it's, I don't know if you would call it functional, but you get something. And then you have the ankle rocker, where you get quite a bit, but it's a little bit more for show because the base is pretty wide on the bottom here, but you can also adjust this if you need to. All right, some size comparisons. We have MP44 Optimus Prime. That's an official product right there. Then we have the MP Skids. And let me go ahead and get Ultra Magnus in here. Magnus is big. It's big bot. And they see about eye to eye. Yeah. Some say Ultra Magnus is too tall, but, who knows. And then you have Grimlock, who stands a bit taller than Guttur here. And that's Superador. All right, so for transformation, I like to start with the arms. And you just open this up here and open down here. It's a larger panel on the bottom here that you're able to open because you got to get the dino foot out and the extension. You just make sure you have the fist oriented properly so you don't get the fingers caught up, and you just slide that right in. There's a tab that's going to plug into a hole here at the top when you close it, and the same on the bottom here. And you collapse the arm on the other side. And then on this side, we're going to do the same. Maybe you'll see it better on this side. Sorry for the camera focusing on my arms more than Guttur's arms there. All right. And Guttur, of course, is a representation of, I believe it's Snarl. And that just closes up and plugs right in there. And then you're going to collapse the arm in. Just like that. This opens up here so you can just rotate the head in. The transformations on these are not overly complicated, which is not a bad thing because it looks accurate from one mode to the next. And it's not over-engineered just for the sake of making a complicated transformation. So that panel just goes right up and over, and then you're going to close this together so you can form the tail. And as you can see, this was the first one I picked up, and the chrome is held up really well here for the gold. And if you slide the shoulders out here, it's a strong joint, and it always scares me when I have to pull this apart because it's plastic, but it's held up, so there's not any like wearing. You just have to be careful about where you're pulling from. And it's got these pins that you're going to rotate in the slot. And that's to move the shoulders up higher for alt mode. All right, so you flip this out here from the inside of the leg. You're going to lift this panel up so you can put this in to store that away. And you do the same on the other side. These are connected here to complete the foot at the bottom. All right, and you're able to close that away and flip this out, and you can flip it out on the other side. And then you're going to lift up the flaps here for the hip skirts, rotate the thigh around. You have to move the leg out in order to do that to get clearance. And then you're going to rotate the waist here, full 360 to go ahead and get the legs oriented properly, because you want the spines facing the same way, of course. And you close the hip flaps and then collapse the leg in on itself. Now, I did the shoulders a little early here, so you're going to have to undo it again. I got a little carried away on the steps. So the order matters here, at least for this part of it, on how you're doing it. And then you just collapse the toe in on itself here on the foot. So it's going to be a moment I need to pop out the shoulders again to rotate it out of the way. And I'll show you better how to get that closed up here in just a moment. So you just collapse this in, and it's going to fit in snugly. And then on the other side, rotate the thigh. And as you can see, this is all cleared up and open, and you just rotate it in. And again, on this side, I'm going to have to pop that shoulder out for the hind legs. As you can see, it's tight. Just getting this back into position. And then you just collapse it in on itself. And once it's in, you'll be able to sandwich the legs together. You just got to match up some pegs with their holes on the other side. And you just squeeze it together and collapse this toe in. Just like that. That forms the head, and you got it just about done. As you can see, you just rotate this in and push in. And then rotate this in until you find the slot and push it in. And then you can orient the legs. And here, these just pull out and roll down out of its cavity there. And you can open the mouth here. There's a couple cannons inside. And there you have it. Masterpiece snarl right here. It's looking good, and a lot of painted detail all over this. The red paint on this one isn't chipping on me, and the gold holds up really well. He does have red eyes, and I know that a lot of people would prefer that he had blue eyes, but this is how it came, and I haven't altered it. As I mentioned, you have the two cannons on the inside. For articulation, you have ankle rockers on all feet. Pretty much manipulate it however you should probably need for this type of dinosaur. And the tail does move side to side, but it does also sit on the ground. So depending on how you position the legs. And this is a smoky head covering that you can use on here. It just sits on top. It doesn't snap in place. And this is like for the neck. Let me go and get this on here. Slides right in. And because of the nature of how it connects, you can't leave it in if you're going to transform it. But for display, I don't know, you can say it's a fancy dust cover. But it looks just like the toy from the original. And with the shoulder cannon, there's a peg hole here on the hind leg that you can use to manipulate this and position however you want. On this side, with the other available slot here, you could plug in the sword here if you want to look ridiculous. You know, you can charge and use it like a lance, or you can put the battle rifle in that other hole if you prefer to have that as a weapons display on him in Dino Mode. But I prefer not to have them on there. But let's go ahead and get them transformed back. So you just rotate these front legs back into the slots here and pop out the hind legs so we can form the shoulders here and rotate them out of the way, because you're going to need to move them out of the way again and get the legs to be able to splay apart here. So you just move it in a slot and slide it in, split the tail. That's just for ease of getting this done now. And then you just pop the legs apart here. Just be careful with the head while you're splitting that apart. And you just rotate the legs out. And it just orients back into itself like that. And rotate the toe. And then this structure here, when you pull it out, it'll slot back into the foot. And you just rotate the leg at the thigh to orient it properly to face forward. And we're going to do the same on the other side. When you pull this apart, the part that has the head will actually just collapse in on itself. So there's not any like guesswork. It actually makes things a lot simpler. And rotate the thigh to get the leg to orient properly. Flip the toe out. Move this heel piece into place. And then remove the connector from the slot and push it in. And collapse that back down. And then the legs are done. Rotate the waist 360. And then flip that out so you can rotate the head out. And then all that's going to be left is the arms. Like I said, this is a pretty easy transformation, and you get great results from it. There is some limited articulation as far as like how far the elbows bend. Dinobots kind of get a pass on some of this because of their size, but I always like to have more articulation if possible. And you have to be careful when you're flipping these out here because you just have to make sure everything's oriented properly. Otherwise, some things will jam up on you. But you also need to expand the arm first before you can push this in. So that's done. Now, start it off easy. Just pull the arm out, open the tabs. You're going to rotate the foot up and the toes up so that it'll just slide right in to the forearms, and then you can just collapse this in and then orient those fists as you need them. Now, Guttur is an excellent representation for snarl. I love that you can articulate this here. If you'd like to get your own, they are still, GigaPower is still making these. There's different variations, and you can find them, I believe, on the Chosen Prime. That's where I got mine. And if you'd like to see that, I'll put it in the description below. But if you're new here, please subscribe, leave comments, share it. If you have any comments about Snarl, let me know. Have a good one.